Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are dropping part 2 of the Arieh Lowenstein interview that I did. If you haven't listened to the first part, you need to go back and listen to the first part. Then you'll go into the second. Trust me, you need to listen to the first before you go into the second. And then be sure you listen to this full episode today, because at the very end, well, Arieh has so much gold in these episodes, but at the very end, I just really love how Arieh answered my question of what's the future of retail. I feel like he just tells us like exactly what you need to do to succeed in retail. So we're going to continue this conversation with Arieh. Go back to part 1 if you haven't listened. And now let's jump into part 2. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail.
There's another thing that we do in the store, and every store is different and the math is different for everyone, but it is I've told the story on the social media a number of times, but it's when I would I learned to cook in my market from my butcher and my cheesemonger and my food runner. Any movie you've seen that romanticizes Italy about the market, going to the market, it's true. It's an incredible experience. It's how I learned to cook and how I learned to speak Italian. My market, Tonino, Nicola, Roberto, Roberta, if I say any more names, I'll start to cry. They were my friends. They were very generous and open with me. Anyway, when I would go down to the market, whoever it is that I bought something from, if I bought potatoes from Mario, he would put rosemary in the bag. If I bought mozzarella di bufala from Roberto and Roberta, they would put basil in the bag. If I bought pasta, filled pasta like from Nicola, she would give me sage to cook with the butter. So this came with it because obviously that's how you're going to cook it, because that's the way the Italians, look at it. But they just said here. Mm-hmm. So at our stores, we have a case in each store of fresh herbs. And when someone is, buying food, we don't put a minimum purchase on it, but we say, would you like some free herbs with your order? And we give them a little bouquet of herbs and they get to pick them out. It costs us maybe 35, 40 cents. I don't know, maybe 50 cents, maybe that much.
Right.
But oh my God, it floors them. They don't, what? And the reaction is always positive. And they get this bouquet of fresh herbs. Every store is different, but I think every store could have something where they say, here.
Yep.
Here. Thank you for coming to my store. Here. It's a small gesture, makes a huge thing. And they talk about it afterwards. And also, it's genuine. Also, it means that the food they're going to make is a little better, right? Because they're fresh herbs. So that's a good experience too. But we do that. It's not meant to be a gimmick. It's genuine. But it created a connection between me and my fruttovendoli, the fruit sellers and the butcher. And it meant something to me here. And so I'm doing it. So I'm copying them, but it creates a wonderful atmosphere.
It so does. That's a perfect example. I teach Unreasonable Hospitality from the book Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And he talks about elevating the moments. And especially when the negative moments happen, like paying. In this case, they're paying. You're elevating that experience by giving them something free that complements what they're purchasing, which really elevates that experience. In a negative, touch point, that impacts so much more, where to your point, they'll go and tell their friends. It's so memorable. They're thinking of you when they're using the herbs. Like, it's just like, you can't put a price tag on that. It's so special. I love you guys do that. That's really cool.
And we codified it into something we do. Like, this is what we do at our stores. We have this at our stores. Our regular replenishment for all the stores includes all the free herbs. It's a win-win-win.
Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, it's exactly what I say in my hospitality training. It's a win-win-win. So Arieh, you are so rooted in retail, like we've talked about, and you've learned so much over all these years, I'm sure. I'm curious, what have you learned about retailing from running Arieh's Pantry that you haven't learned in your 20 plus years of working with other retailers?
So much. Well, it's that in my last job, when I was lucky enough to work with Brandwise and Market Time, and was with Brandwise through COVID, and I did a lot of webinars, and I was, roundtables and so on. A lot of my work was, and then also with new owners for the companies that came in, a lot of what I did was teaching or translating. And I don't mean, from one language to another. I mean from, with all due respect, engineer to human, right? Just because engineers don't necessarily speak, retailer. And I was learning along the way, because you always learn when you teach. But this new career, I'm drinking from a fire hose, which I'm learning things every day. One of the big ones is, as much as I dealt with product data, I've learned just how much attention you have to give. We have 2,000 SKUs in the store. They each have 10 relevant data points. Even with all the technologies that can bring things together, you're buying from a site that consolidates, that provides data that goes into your POS. You still have to check it, because if they change something and it changes it, so that's 20,000 data points that we're, actively following. Had to do it over again, setting that up, I don't want to say more seriously, but just kind of understanding what that was going to take. Because when I had 100 products, I did it. I had 200, I could probably tell you all the costs from my head. When I had 300, I knew how many were in the store by looking around. Now we're at 2,000, and that's going to keep growing. So that's something that I've learned a lot. One of the challenges that I have that's different from the gift world is most of what I buy has a date on it.
Right.
And this is different from regular wholesale. Now, granted, you don't want to buy sweatshirts that don't move, or, puzzles that don't move. But if you sold them 5 years later, as long as they didn't get sun damage, they're fine. Right. That's not the case with most of what's in my store. So learning that and kind of understanding that with the product mix. What else have I learned? I've been able to apply a lot of things that I knew about product mix on a store level. I've got to really be studying a lot on the actual consumer level. And we do some work with that. We have recipe cards. You walk in the store, you pick up the card, everything on the card is in the store. You walk around the store, that's your shopping, there's the wine pairing, here are the instructions, and you make it. So some of that we're crafting what that experience is. But then beyond that, the actual studying, what I probably would not have, in my kind of siloed approach that I would have had before when I was working with one manufacturer or another manufacturer. I wasn't necessarily looking at, if someone didn't have puzzles and I was helping a puzzle company, I'd say to a retailer, hey, you don't have puzzles. But I wasn't really thinking about what you would buy with the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the combination of purchases is something else that's quite interesting to me. I think it's interesting in the gift side also. We usually think about what's the gift that they're going to buy, where it's, how does this culinary metaphor again, how does this pair with, how does a pair of socks pair with a jigsaw puzzle, right? How does that go together? And I think that that's really fascinating, and probably something that's quite fascinating for retailers to look at and see, because once the customer is in the store, they came in for this, what's the other thing that they're buying with it? And how do you put those next to each other to make that purchase easier? So that part of it, I think, is something that's really fascinating. Either you're leading them around, or you want it to be that, well, if they take this, then they also want this. And some of these are obvious. They put the ski goggles next to the ski goggle cleaner, right? But it's the less obvious when you're looking at the personas. We have personas that we're understanding about who our customer is. And when we do our social media and do our marketing, I'm working with Maxine, working with Stetson, working with Daphne, the question that we'll ask is, who is this for? It's not just enough that it's good in the store. It's who are we trying to sell this to? And then when you answer that question, then you see all the other things that you need to put into the message, that you need to put into this. Is this for a family? Is this for a single guy living downtown? Is this for, a lawyer? She doesn't have time, but she wants to grab something to eat quickly, but she wants to learn about it at the same time. Reading the cereal box when you're eating the cereal, right? That piece, like, how do we capture that moment? So understanding also who it's for is, to your previous questions about how do we design it, that's always a big question. And we're getting the data that we're able to pull answers our questions. It either confirms what we thought, or it, proves that it's, or it explains that we were wrong because it's not what we thought. But so what else have I learned? I've, had nights like, I used to have to do this in my previous jobs, but slept on the floor in the office at the store, for an hour from 7:30 to 8:30. So I could at least look a little bit fresh for a 9:00 open, because I worked all night. Running inventory, checking inventory is a thing I've learned a lot about. Personnel, we have we've really leaned forward in terms of how much we're paying. It's a risk. My first store broke even. We opened the second store a month later. So there's not, so we're still using, that's still the path kind of that we're on, but we've decided to hire people, pay them a living wage, health insurance, the whole bit. And we're betting on hiring good people, treating them really well, and then pushing them as hard as we can. That's the formula. I can sleep at night, but that's the formula we're going with. It's not that they live in luxury, but we want them worrying about doing their job, not about paying their bills. And so, because then I can push them as hard as I can at work, which is where, we need it, and take care of our employees when they have difficulty. 1 time out of 10, 2 times out of 10, it's not going to work out, but I firmly believe that it's a good investment, aside from it being, the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny that you say that's so critical with having a successful business, not just store, of having the right people and taking care of your people. And I just got back from a show and we sat with about 15 jewelers, and almost every single one of them was saying, I can't find good help. I can't find good help. I can't find good help. And I would try to kind of coach them on like, hey, it could be worth it to pay them well so you don't lose them. They can help grow your business. Like if they're in charge of marketing or selling or saving you time so you can sell more, like it, I think that it's really coming down to we're not investing in people and or training and systems. And that's honestly like a whole nother topic that we could get into that we won't today. But I feel like Ari, I feel like you need to write a book on retail, because one of the best ways to understand retail and retailers is to become one. And all these years, I played with that idea. I don't know if that's in the cards for me, but like with all your experience and now you have your store, I really feel like you should write a book.
It's interesting to have been a manufacturer myself for many years, then worked for manufacturers as a sales manager, then as a consultant, then working on the technology side, working with lots of rep groups. The one job I haven't done is being a sales rep. Okay. We back with sales reps whenever we can. I believe in them. I'm definitely always believed in the human factor, which is very important. But I think there is probably a book in there. People keep saying to me, congratulations. And I keep saying to them, tell me that in like 3 years. Like right now, say good luck. Because good luck. Congratulations comes when payroll doesn't go, okay, payroll's coming, because we're all there when we're growing, and we're growing quickly.
You are. Amazing. All right, Ari, are you ready for the resilience round?
Am I ready for the resilience round? I am always ready for the resilience round. Yes. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is, but yes, I'm ready. Okay.
Yes, of course you're ready. All right. Best business book.
So when I saw this question, the first thought that came to my mind was, having to find time to read, because I work so much these days that if I actually open up a book and start to read, I'm asleep. But I do know the books that I want to read. Zingerman's is a deli in Michigan, which is quite famous. And they've written some books, and I bought them, and I have given them to my employees, but that's where I'm planning to start when I do. The best books right now are the 2 heavy hitters that I'm bringing in, people with a lot of experience. I am excited to learn from them and from their experience. But when I do have time to read, it'll be Zingerman's. The first one I read, it's titled How They Built a Corner Deli into a Worldwide Food Community. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. So
yeah, amazing.
That will be my first business read.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've heard him speak a couple times. He's awesome. Okay. Yeah. Best retail technology, like an app or software.
So it's got to be Instagram for us. We have in our stores, we have Square. We buy from various online platforms. We use, I guess that's probably most of where we are. But Instagram has been a very useful tool. I could figure it out, but then I don't know how to do anything in it. And I don't, I have younger people.
Exactly. Yes.
As cliched as it may be, I'm like, I don't understand. But it's been a very valuable tool.
Yes. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Well, that's by testing.
Yeah.
I keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape internally by testing things. I do pay attention to what other retailers are doing. I look at retailers like Zingerman's and Vermont Country Store and others where I think that there's a story that has a similar kind of path and what they're doing. And I listen to my customers. It was easy when I had one store. They say, "Hey, we want milk." Okay, I got milk. In fact, they would be surprised at how quickly I'd get new products in. I was like, well, I'm the committee. So there you go. Yes. Now it's here. But so the changing landscape, we're sticking to our guns a bit on a lot of things. We say, well, we're not cutting corners on this. We want this to be that we want to stay with not kind of change our spots too quickly. We have our core, the real Italian food. But the changing landscape is really about testing. You see something, try something, see if that's a thing. We've got a matcha event now that we're going to be doing hopefully once a month. Matcha's not Italian, but it's got a great history. And we found a young group that does a pop-up, and that brought another crowd into our store, and they bought things from the store and they came back. So the other is that we're looking at these, new things that are happening, and we are trying to bring them, maybe not be Italian, but it's culinary. So that's another piece that we're doing. Yeah, and as Exene pointed out, we also are trying to do more and more collaborations. We're going to be working with local pizzeria to do a pizza that's themed on our dish, but we have collaborations that we're doing with different entities. We also do some cool events at the store, like we do a knife sharpening. Big truck comes and people bring their knives in, they get them sharpened.
Cool.
Right. So we're one of the other ways that we're doing it is we're trying to, our store isn't a circus. You don't want it to seem like it's, it's basically just a carnival, because then when there isn't something special, it's like, what's going on? But we do things, we're trying to target bringing in different audiences that might not have come to us, because then once they've been in the store, then we can activate them in other areas.
Exactly. Amazing. So good. Ari, if you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you do differently?
Oh, this one is because of how the different stores came about, it didn't happen. But the timing of opening the stores when during the year has a huge impact on your cash flow. The first two stores we opened up way too close to the holidays. One was literally December 16th and the other one was like November 20 something. It just kind of how it happened organically. But opening up a store in August or September, yes. And for our market. And the summer is really brutal in Dallas, so sales dip. So we opened in May. We had a lot of fanfare. And even though we're doing incredibly well downtown, cash flow wise, right, you've made your investments and so on, now we're hitting a dip. Now we'll get back up to September, but it gets difficult now. So when you open up the store matters. And I would say to a retailer, if they say, well, the lease is available now, well, you make your case with your landlord to say, you need to help me out. I want to take it now, but you need to help me out because this isn't my season. And so I'd say the timing of when you open the stores would be the biggest thing.
Ari, finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
Well, it's got to be experiential. Everything in my store, with the exception of the food that we make, someone can buy through, an unlimited number of different places, right? For the most part, they don't know about a lot of the things, so they're learning about it in our store. But the experience of why they come, it's entertainment, it is community, it is all the words that we hear about why you want someone to come to your store. Value for the experience, right? What they get in exchange. So it really is about that. We're not just a food store; it's a fun place to go. Little kids think it's a candy store. Romantic, someone going out, cooking dinner for a romantic interest for the first time thinks they've hit the jackpot, right? Because,
right.
Here it is. You can talk about it. You can learn about it. It's about having that experience for as many different people as you can. If your store is more access than entertainment, then you're not a destination, because if they're home, and this is something that, I've always talked about with the Amazon business, right, with all the different parts I think I've been involved in. If someone is at home and they think about buying something, they're not getting in their car and coming down. That's not what it's about, because they can get it to themselves unless they need it that moment. So it really is about having multiple different reasons why someone comes into your store. For me, I have these 7 categories I look at. There's a treasure hunt, there's a daily dose, there's all these different local, good neighbor, there's all these different reasons why someone will come to your store. Access, okay, if it's fresh mozzarella, they got to come to me, right? I have an advantage over, a candle store, right? But a candle store, they can smell it. So that's what you want to do, right? And you want to push in on that, right? It's not just we have these candles, it's come and smell our candles, right? You're giving instruction to someone to say, come and have an experience in my store. So that's not only the future, that's the whole kit and caboodle. That's the whole ball of wax, whatever, catchy phrase you want to use. They've got to think that going to your store is fun. They're getting, a good value, a good experience, all of those things. And then once they're there, they will spend.
Right.
And they'll come back. But you simply have to make an experience now, because access, unless it's time sensitive, it's not enough. Also, because a store is never going to be able to compete with the amount of variety you can get online. Just can't. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
So it has to be about the experience. It has to be about, the words people throw around a lot, community and so on, but it really is. But that's the feeling. we're going to start selling hats and t-shirts soon, right? People have asked for them. Why? Because they have a great experience and they want to wear a hat that says Arieh's Pantry. Who figured?
I love it. Oh, I so believe it. And I so see why. I mean, you're really creating an incredible culture and a brand that people want to belong to and feel at home and connected to. So you're just doing so many right things. Arieh, this was a really inspiring, helpful, almost masterclass episode. How can retailers learn more and connect with you?
Before I started consulting, a colleague who eventually became my consulting partner would say to me at trade shows, if you don't start charging people for this, then people come and ask you questions, and I'd be happy to help. So if you don't start charging for this, she said, I'm going to strangle you. If you reach out to info@ariehspantry.com, I have always thought that a rising tide, raises all ships. I am absolutely about brick and mortar retail. I'm absolutely about commerce, people finding things and experiences that they can sell to someone in person. And I'm an easy yes for you, Crystal. Anytime you want me to be a part of anything, I'm there. And I also know that I'm still learning and we all have a lot to share. I think that retailers talking to each other is one of the most powerful tools, always has been. So I want to learn from retailers, and and whatever I modestly have to offer, I'm happy to offer. I think that my background, it helps me see a lot of aspects of it. So I think that's good. But if they wanted to reach out to me also through Instagram, if you want to have some fun, you can see it. I demonstrated my poor juggling skills the other day.
I watched that video, and we will be reaching out. We're pulling together some amazing retailers to do a roundtable, and I think you'd be a great addition for our Indera members. Great. So, great. Arieh, thank you so much. It was so fun, great Crystal. This was really fun.
It's exciting to see your success, and I'm honored to have been here with you today.
Well, and I'm honored to have you. So thank you, Arieh, so much. And everyone, remember that I'm rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Rooted in Retail podcast. It means the world to me to have you here. If you find value in this show and you listen on an iPhone, if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would be amazing. And if you watch YouTube, if you're a YouTube subscriber, we film this. And so if you rather watch the show, you can also do that over on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.